I'm going to ask you to like, share, and subscribe to this channel as I continue to provide you with trusted information that can be used to guide you in terms of your daily living and decision making. So today's topic is about land ownership, and I'm going to make particular reference to Jamaica. When the Spaniards came to the New World, including Africa, they saw persons inhabiting those land spaces. When the English came, they took over from the Spaniards, and again they saw both Spaniards and other persons living there. And England start a revolution in terms of having Africans being displaced from Africa to the New World to construct their civilization. Now, what I want to do is let's look at Jamaica. Use Jamaica as your typical example, and it can also be used in places in Africa as well as the Americas, which would include Jamaica and the Caribbean. They saw persons living here. They took over the land of these individuals, and then they actually made them crown land. Jamaica became independent in August of 1962, which means they took over the governance of the society from the British to local individuals. When these local individuals became the ruling, or let me rephrase that, when these local individuals were now the rulers of government, and remember carefully that government is a unit or entity that represents the people, and therefore there is no individual who is really called government but an entire system or structure. So why am I taking you there? Because government, which is the people, own lands in the Americas and the Caribbean, and yet still thousands of their citizens are having to deal with the issue relating to having somewhere for themselves in terms of land ownership, in terms of a space to survive, in terms of where to plant, where to live, and where just to have mere subsistence or existence. So if we're taking Jamaica, there's so much land that is owned by the government, or remember the people, and yet still when the people go on these land and live on them, they are termed as squatters, and then they are bulldozed and oppressed again. So I'm asking the question, who is really the government? If the government is the people, and the people have decided to live on these lands, then how it is that they are bulldozed and are called or labeled as squatters? I'm the question again. Who is the government? And the government is the people. How it is when the people go on these lands and live on these lands, they are told that they are squatting. What an irony. When the British came to the Caribbean, let's deal with the Caribbean, Jamaica, the Americas. And when they came here, they saw persons on their land. They murdered them. They raped their women and their men. And they took away these things. And they were not called squatters. And they were not called murderers or labeled as murderers. They were considered to be invaders. But when the people decide to invade a piece of land and make these lands theirs, they are considered not as invaders, but as squatters. And then they are ostracized, killed, and move away from these property. And at the same time, the property belongs to the people. I want you to think about that. The property of Jamaica and the other islands in the world, other nations in the world, belong to the people. Because they are the government. And yes, the people cannot cannot, and I repeat, cannot voluntarily go on these land and make them their own. And if they are to do, they are not called invaders. They are called squatters. Guess still, how did the Caribbean governments and the governments in America became owners of these lands? They became owners of these lands by invasion. And yes, when the people invade these property, they are not considered as invaders. They are considered as squatters. What an array. Jargons, terms, concepts that are used on the people. So is the government really for the people, by the people? Or is the government the same structure as that obtains when the Spaniards and the British were here? No longer can the people of Jamaica become invaders. They are considered as squatters. What has the government done to own these lands? When these lands were taken from the forefathers of the very persons who cannot be invaders, but are now labeled as squatters. I want to think of the structure that has been in place in this world. I know the people are just being used as pawns, and they cannot recognize that they do not own anything in this current system, and that this current system must be changed. And it can only be changed by the people not supporting the structure. Like, share, and subscribe to this channel as I continue to provide you with trusted information. If you disagree, let me hear. If you agree, let me hear your opinion. Let's have a discussion on this matter. A robust, fair, intellectual, realistic discussion on the matter.